Let's try and make sense of what's happening in the political scene right now. Let me bring out my panel. Anthony Oluoch is here with me, advocate of the High Court and MP for the great people of Mathare. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
And also with me is Irungu Kang'ata, Senator for the great people of Murang'a County, and also Deputy Majority Whip in the National Assembly, in the Senate. Thank you for coming on as well tonight.
Thank you, lad.
Great. President Kenyatta said in Nyahururu today, Honorable Oluoch, that NASA and Raila Odinga are trying to take power through the back door by causing violence, commotion, and chaos. Is that NASA's plan?
No, NASA is not trying to take power through the back door. I think we subjected ourselves to the elections of 2017 on 8th of August. We also subjected ourselves to the institution of the judiciary. In spite of the lack of confidence we had lost in it in 2013, we went and a decision was made. Following that decision, we expected certain things to happen. Those things have not happened. We have exercised our rights under Article 37 of the Constitution, which is to demonstrate and to make our position known. We have done so peacefully. We have done so by issuing a notice, which is what the law says that we should do. And having done that, the burden then shifts. It shifts to the police to ensure that, one, it allows the people who want to peacefully demonstrate unarmed to do so, and at the same time be able to fish out those who are causing chaos. Okay. And this issue came up, I think, 2 years ago, when I think the police attempted to crack down on demonstration leading to the first IEBC crackdown and the Okoa then. And there was a historic ruling, I think, that was made by Justice Onguto. And Onguto said that unless by law you cannot put limitations on people exercising their rights to demonstrate, once a notice is issued, like was issued by the head of the CEO, who now they want to arrest, the burden shifts on the police to ensure that that demonstration not only takes place, but property is protected and those who want to cause violence are separated. NASA
insists and maintained today, Senator, that they are going to go ahead with daily protests starting tomorrow, even though the Cabinet Secretary for the Interior, the acting Dr. Fred Matiang'i, has said there will be no demonstrations in the CBD of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu. What do you make of that?
Well, from where I sit, I think the government did not per se ban all demonstrations. It's only that it puts some restriction in some certain areas. For instance, in Nairobi, the CBD of Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa. But they can as well demonstrate in the rural areas. The only problem with them is that they are demonstrating and causing violence. If you can recall the incidents which happened in Nyanza, they targeted police stations. Here in Nairobi, they were targeting private property. They were throwing stones. So essentially, this is not a normal demonstration. These are mere goons, these are mere criminals who wants to cause havoc in this country. And once they do that, they then incite the media. They have those images captured. They blow those issues out of proportion to show that indeed Kenya is in a major civil chaotic situation.
That is the accusation that the government, President Kenyatta, has today said that the demonstrations often turn violent, which is very destructive.
I think we need to put this into perspective. One, I'm very glad that my good friend, the senator, does not don the image of the business community, because I can tell you, I've been in these demonstrations. There are people who pose as business communities. We have gone in the middle of town and been attacked on more than 3 occasions. I myself, my car was pelted by people wearing, some wearing police uniform, some and National Hospital. Civilian people have tear gas. When we walk into town peacefully and unarmed, unprovoked, you find people lobbing tear gas at us. There are images of police stopping people, an innocent motorist, doing nothing but just ferrying people from one end of town to the other, and brutally beating them without mercy. The police must be held to account. Jubilee government must be held to account, and it is their duty, I repeat. It is the law that you allow those who demonstrate to demonstrate, and those who are causing chaos, the police must devise a way of separating them from the other people.
No, you can't say that, because look here, these people are the ones who are going with stones. They are the people who are going throwing stones.
The NASA demonstrators,
yes,
you mean?
Indeed.
So it's
yes,
the NASA
indeed.
demonstrators throwing stones that the ones who are disrupting business in the city?
Yes, indeed. In fact, I can tell you, you do not have a single demonstrator who is demonstrating peacefully. They are going, start targeting innocent motorists, start targeting innocent bystanders, and therefore you may find a situation where some people may not take it lightly, they may as well respond. But most importantly, what is happening in Nyanza to me is something that is clearly meant to cause civil war in this country.
Hang on, I want to back up. How can you say that there is no single demonstrator who's demonstrating peacefully?
Well, because
there have been many who've been holding placards and walking along the streets with their leaders, and they haven't caused any havoc.
I can tell you it's a decoy. Immediately, you see them, you take them their photos. When they step there, they start throwing stones.
But I can tell you,
all what is happening here is something that is planned to cause major chaos. I can tell you for real, they want to hit headlines. You cannot hit headlines unless you cause chaos. That is their mantra.
Can I give you a good example? Way back in 2015, when the police and the government tried to stop similar demonstrations, the court gave an order and said, allow them to demonstrate. Do you know what happened? There were no police. They literally took off the streets. We went to IEBC, we demonstrated, we sat down there for almost an hour, 2 hours, and went back to Uhuru Park and dispersed. I'll give you the example of...
can I ask you one question?
Just a minute, just hold on, just hold on.
Can I ask you just one question?
Just hold on, I finish. On Wednesday, we went round, and when you say no single demonstrator, I was in there, I demonstrate. I have my own people coming from Mathare constituency. They demonstrate peacefully. We have marshals, people who tell people, you try to steal a phone, you are going to be caught and disciplined by the very same people who are demonstrating with us. And we hand them over to the police. We went round 4 times.
No, can I ask you a question?
Let me finish. We went round 4 times until we reached Koja Mosque, and some people emerged from somewhere, lobbing at tear gas. They were not police. That is the only incident on Wednesday, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people.
Are you saying civilians who are lobbing tear gas are demonstrators?
Civilians, people.
Not policemen?
Not police.
Not policemen in plain clothes?
And then it is after that provocation that our youth decided to repulse them. And the police in the process now, after about 5-10 minutes of stampede, decided to assist us to send them back. We went to IEBC after that repulsion and went round Nairobi twice. So it is not true that people throw stones. There are people who are being funded. There are people who are being armed by police.
Look here. We have seen videos circulating in social media where your supporters in Kisumu are complaining when police don't even throw tear gas to you. People are saying, no, why is it that we have paid taxes for us to be beaten with tear gas and no one is beating us with tear gas? We have seen, for instance, I think it was in Migori County, where the police refused to come out. They said, fine, you can demonstrate as you wish. Then your supporters invaded a police station. Surely, you start throwing stones at a police station, you start burning trees with a view to provoke the police people, and when the police people start shooting to protect themselves, you start complaining, oh, they want to kill our supporters. No, it is you.
Are you justifying police using live bullets on protesters?
Well, you see, according to the
Hang on, Senator, are you justifying police using live bullets on protesters?
No, no police person is supposed to use live bullet on innocent, unarmed protester, except where now you start using violence, when you start throwing stones, aiming at killing and maiming a police person. You see, a police person is also a human being. You can as well kill him by throwing a stone. So when you do that, surely he has to defend himself. So therefore, it is you doing the provocation. We saw that in your region, in Nyanza, where you targeted a police station. You started to ban. Imagine, for instance, you are inside a police station as a police officer. You are now trying to ban a police station.
That has been contested. The people who were killed in Bondo, it has been claimed that they were not attacking a police station. They were shot outside of the police station.
It is not true. It is not true. We have evidence.
Why are you there?
How can you say it is not true, Senator, when you were not there? But that said, Honorable Oluoch, Honorable Oluoch, how can you? There's no Nairobi business community in Kisumu. How do you explain the violence in Kisumu?
You see, the violence, if it is there, must be dealt with certain proportions. Because you cannot say that where there are hundreds and thousands of people protesting innocently, until such time when you're saying that there is threat, imminent threat to life and limb, it is not possible that you throw tear gas at people. It is not possible that you use live bullets. There are people even being shown having machetes, police officers. This has been circulating in social media. This is not permissible. Where there is imminent danger to your life as a policeman, you can either shoot in the air or you can use a rubber bullet. Why use such force that is being used by the police?
Now that the government has outlawed protests in the CBD of Mombasa, Kisumu, Nairobi, where will NASA protest tomorrow?
We will protest. You noticed even on Friday they said no entering CBD. We did enter CBD. We will continue to agitate. We will continue to ask our people to come. They will throw tear gas at us, but we will not relent. But we will also tell our people that also continue to protest from outside the outskirts of Nairobi. We have to innovate. As an opposition, we have to innovate. I can tell you, where we are today in this country, we are going back to the trenches. We are in the trenches. They will throw us out of CBD. And it is not only CBD. When we left CBD, we were chased to Ngong Hills and tear gas thrown at us at Ngong Hills. We went to Orange House. Tear gas was thrown at us at Orange House. We tried to go to Kibera. They followed us in Kibera. So that this ban of CBD is not a ban on CBD. They have completely banned any kind of demonstration within the CBD and outside of the CBD. It is illegal.
Is that an illegal ban? That's the argument NASA has made, that the Cabinet Secretary, the government has no right to ban what the Constitution allows.
No, Article 23 and 24 clearly puts circumstances under which certain rights can be limited. For instance, if the limitation is reasonable for public security, it is there in the Constitution.
And
so therefore,
by law.
Listen,
and Matiang'i was saying that I am going to put the regulations.
Sure,
he has not even put the regulations.
You have spoken. Give me some.
Let the senator speak.
Yes.
Let the senator speak.
The Constitution is very clear. It gives the government the power to limit rights. And this is not the rights which we say they cannot be limited. So therefore, the government has just done that. So pursuant to that position, it is completely illegal. It is there provided in the law for Mr. Matiang'i, Dr. Matiang'i, to do what he said. And by the way, when you look at your protest, you can see an intention to escalate violence. Because, for instance, you started initially by saying you want to demonstrate only one day. Then you went, I don't know, 3 days in a week. Now you want to protest each and every day. So you can see the whole idea is that as we approach the election, you disrupt the elections so that you don't have an election. Which, by the way, is funny because it is you who took us to court. It is you who went to court and obtained a judgment. But immediately that judgment was rendered, you did not even campaign, even an iota. I never saw you even one time campaigning, meaning the court played into your hands. The whole idea of going to court was to cause a trigger for you to cause chaos. Otherwise, if indeed you obtain a judgment, what do? Senator. You use it to cause a momentum for you to go and campaign and win. But you never campaign even a single day. Meaning, ab initio, from the beginning, you had no intention at all to campaign. You never intended.
Senator, you're a lawyer like myself. Article 24 of the Constitution says, and for the benefit of the public and the viewers, is that a right of fundamental freedom shall not be limited except by law. So what does that mean in layman terms? It means that before you place such limitations, you must have a statute, a regulation, or something. Matiang'i must point us to which law, which regulation did he use to say that the right under Article 37 has been limited. And even when you limit it, you must say to what extent, and even after you say to what extent, you must say that it is reasonable in an open and democratic society.
Okay.
Matiang'i was on record himself as saying that I am about to put in regulations. So how can you put the cart before the horse? Put the regulations in place and then say, by these regulations, I now invoke my powers, you will not demonstrate within CBD. And that is what Justice Onguto said. I started by saying Justice Onguto gave very clear parameters. Those parameters, I want to invite the Inspector General of Police and Mr. Matiang'i. Please go and read the ruling of Justice Onguto. He said you are allowed to delimit. In fact, they can tell us you will demonstrate between Kang'ata Avenue at the Freedom Corner up to Milimani down there, going down to Huru Park and Nyayo. They limit it so long as there are some regulations.
Look here, since from March this year, you have been going to court suing Jubilee or even IBC or even any other entity, left, right, and center. If at all this proclamation by Dr. Matiang'i was illegal, I can bet, particularly you would have gone to court.
Why are you personalizing this to me?
I know because
so
you
have been
litigating. You have been litigating on behalf of NASA, right? For a very long time.
I can assure you, we are not going back to court on anything in the near future.
Exactly.
Not in the name
you
of
hear
Raila,
him?
not in the name of NASA.
You hear him?
I
He
can
does not
assure you,
want
we are
to
not
follow the
going
rule of
back to
law.
court
You hear him? He wants to cause chaos. He does not want to revert to the court.
Why won't you go to court and contest this ruling,
Exactly.
this decision by Matiang'i if it is illegal?
You see what?
The decision by Matiang'i, there are other people who are personally affected. I can assure you that Norman Magaya will be in court tomorrow.
All right.
He will be contesting the threat to arrest him. I can tell you that he's going to contest the selective discrimination and the improper use of the criminal justice system to selectively target him for doing nothing other than the execution of his own duties.
Gentlemen.
He executed his...
Gentlemen.
What is wrong with the notice? What is wrong with the notice?
Take responsibility.
Kang'ata, could you go and read? Could you go and read this? Could you read this? You are a lawyer. Could you say, for example, that in the execution of your duty, if I write a notice on behalf of my client and say that I have instructions to give this, I cannot be held responsible criminally or otherwise.
Acting as a lawyer. He was acting
more importantly,
as the CEO of NASA.
Senator, more importantly, I want to bring your attention to a judgment of Justice Mativo. When one vehicle was destroyed and burned, I think in 2015, a group of Nairobi business people carried that vehicle and brought to the doorstep of the office of Raila Odinga. And they said that because Raila called for these demonstrations, he must be responsible for the resultant damage. Do you know what the court said? Criminal responsibility is personal. It is not vicarious. You cannot say that because Oluoch called for this demonstration, somebody else who attended them and destroyed them, therefore Oluoch must pay for those damages. Let us follow the law.
Gentlemen, can we just take a break right there? When we come back, the Senator will explain why he thinks you're wrong. Right now, though, we have to take a really quick break on NTV's decision 2017. We're back in a moment. I'm still sitting here with Senator Irungu Kang'ata and MP Anthony Oluoch. You were just about to speak before we went to the break, and you also wanted to comment. Should Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta speak one-on-one?
No, for obvious reason. That will be in contempt of a court order. Already we have a court order which was not obtained by us. Then NASA obtained it. And that court order directed us to hold elections. That is exactly what we are doing. So therefore, what are you negotiating about? Unless you want to violate that court order.
How would Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta speaking violate that court order?
No, you see, it will mean you want to subvert it. Of course. What else are you discussing about? Because if you are, for instance, to come and agree, hey, you share power, hey, you do what, you'd be subverting that court order. Because as of now, our focus should be having an election pursuant to that court order. Okay. Number two, sorry. Now, the reason why Dr. Magaya ought to be arrested or made answerable.
The NASA CEO.
Yes. It is because for two reasons. Number one, he is the one who wrote notices to the police saying that there will be some certain matches. So therefore, he takes personal responsibility for whatever happens in those matches.
What is the legal basis for that, taking personal responsibility?
No, of course it is there. He's the one who wrote those notices.
No, under what section, what law, what section?
Public Order Act, it is there. There are several clauses provided therein. Of course, when you are, unless you are saying that letter has no legal effect, unless you want to mean that letter, when you do that letter, you are just doing clerical work. You do not take personal responsibility to that letter. So, and again, if we fail to rein in on the violence that is being caused by NASA supporters, you are going to cause millions of shillings to be lost. Now, But most importantly, allow me to go back to what my colleagues were saying.
Before you go back there, I just want you to respond to that.
Let me respond to that.
Should Norman Magaya, because he's the one that gave notice to the police, according to Dr. Matiang'i's argument, he should be held personally responsible for the damage that was caused during those protests?
There are three things. Number one is that you've asked for a specific law. My good senator here will not tell you which law. Matiang'i will not tell you which law. But I've pointed to you 3 judicial decisions. And from a legal perspective, when decisions of the court are given, they become law. I think that's very clear for us to know. Let's start with the decision of Justice Lenaola.
No,
Justice Lenaola, can I finish? Because I politely listened to you. You're entitled to a rebuttal. Justice Lenaola, Sonko versus Kajwang versus Orengo, and versus Kalwale. They came and they said that these people should not be allowed to demonstrate, there will be violence. And what is Justice Lenaola saying in his ruling? That there is something called judicial prior restraint. You cannot restrain somebody in advance of exercise of their rights, even when you think that they're going to do something wrong. That is very clear because you benchmark it against the decision of Justice Onguto. We held the rally at Uhuru Park, the Okoa rally, courtesy of a ruling that is so clear. And Kang'ata, we should go and read it, because if we read it, we will not be having this argument with you today. We will not be having this argument with the Matiang'i. We will not be having this argument with the police. This is what Justice Onguto said, interpreting Article 37, that it is a right that is not negotiable. If you want to negotiate it, go to Article 24, and 24 says you can limit it, but limit it within these parameters. Those parameters, Justice Matiang'i has not brought himself within those. Number 2, even when you're allowed to limit it by law, this is what the ruling said, that you have to give advance notice and say if you're going to limit the area within which somebody is going to demonstrate, you must demarcate, you must put advance notice, and then in respect of those who are going to cause violence, because in any demonstration, there will be errant person, including the Nairobi business community that is sponsored by the police and your government. Those people will be there. That ruling was saying that safeguard the rights of the people who want to demonstrate, because there are many, including myself here. I was demonstrating. Did you see me throwing a stone? I have hundreds of people of Mathare who came. They were demonstrating. No, can I finish? No, they were demonstrating peacefully. So what the law says and what the ruling of the court was saying is, you have the capacity and you are the government. Separate those who will likely cause violence and allow those who will not.
The accusation that has come up is, how do you know within thousands of people who is a peaceful demonstrator and who is there with an intent to cause violence, who's there with an intent to destroy property or to loot?
Now, there are two ways that you can do it, and you know it is not up to me. I'm trying to interpret what the judge said. Okay. The judge said, when you issue the notice, because the issue that you asked me was, should Magaya be personally responsible? The answer is no. Okay. The judgment was saying, once the notice is issued, the burden shifts. There is a question of shifting of burden. The burden shifts in this way, that we do not own the instruments of power. The government does. The government invests in intelligence. Wait. The government has the, we pay them with our taxpayers' money. They have intelligence, they have police, they have all these sniffer dogs, they have all this. And even if it happens because the intelligence failed, they are able to see. They have security surveillance. They have all manner of things. If they don't separate them, then they are able to apprehend them even afterwards to ensure that when we call our rallies or demonstrations tomorrow, these people don't come. No. Okay. It is not our burden. No. Our burden is to give the notice, then the responsibility shifts.
You are creating a notion as if this is the first demonstration that we have had since the enactment of the new constitution in 2010. We have had nurses demonstrating for the last 4 months. We have doctors, we have had teachers day in day out demonstrating, citing various reasons. I can tell you, in all those demonstrations, we never had a situation where the police were clobbering these people.
Do you agree?
It is only after you people started these demonstrations that now we are seeing a new dimension, a new system where people are now demonstrating with stones, people who start attacking peaceful bystanders, and therefore, and again, you also want to rely on the same law. No.
Senator, do you agree that the burden shifts, like he says, when they give a notice to the police, then it is therefore the job of the police to keep order and to make sure that there are no people who are trying to disrupt that demonstration, to destroy property, to loot, to harm others?
Yes, I agree, by the way. I concede on that point. And that is exactly what the police have been doing. They have been joining these people. Only upon seeing a police person, they start throwing stones at them. I can tell you, if at all these people don't throw stones at the police, your demonstration will be very peaceful. But now, look, for instance, I have seen other demonstrations where police don't break them. In Machakos, for instance, in Kitui. But the problem has been here in Nairobi and in some regions in Nyanza. That's very unfair.
All right. Let's move on. Your colleagues, the former, there's a Kiambu Governor Kabando, Martha Karua, they're saying, Peter Mositet, that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta should speak. And you disagree? Yes,
I disagree completely for several reasons. Number one, it is against a court order. Number two, what shall they be discussing? You see, that is how the so-called Nusu Mkate came in the year 2007. You call people to dialogue, and then you start insisting, hey, I want part of the government. In any event, by the way, when Raila Odinga went to London, we heard his speech. Those are the issues he was raising. He was telling the international community, hey, come here, mediate. There's a major crisis in Kenya.
Do you think Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta should speak on face-to-face?
First of all, I think the impression has been created that NASA and Raila Odinga is interested in some Nusu Mkate. I think that's not the position. Number two, the people who think that Raila Odinga has gone to the Western world to try and get them to intervene so that they can help us to get into some talk are also very mistaken. I personally occupy the position that there was a point at which IEBC could have seized the moment and brought everybody to the national table, not to talk about how we can split this government, but to talk about how we can give effect to the order of the Supreme Court. So when you're saying that we will be in contempt of the court, what we will be in contempt of is not people sitting to talk, and that window has closed, by the way. I agree with you. There is nothing to talk about, not especially in respect of 26th of October. So because there will be no elections.
So 26th October, what do you mean there will be no
elections? There will be no elections.
What do you mean there will be no elections?
I will demonstrate in a short while, but allow me to develop this point. That the elections that were ordered and directed by the Supreme Court, if we are talking about what we would be in contempt of, it is the rush to hold an election for the sake of holding, so much rush that IEBC does not care what are the fine corners of what made the Supreme Court nullify the elections that they conducted. So much rush that Jubilee will not hear anything, not even the IEBC, that if I was Jubilee and Uhuru Kenyatta, Jubilee should be directing their anger at the IEBC, because if Uhuru Kenyatta won, who cost Jubilee that election and Uhuru Kenyatta? It is not Raila Odinga. It is not the Supreme Court. It is not Murang'a. Instead, you see the tirade and the anger against Murang'a, against Raila, against... Everybody comes to this show and all you hear is about Raila, Raila, Raila. What Raila and NASA were trying to do by putting the irreducible minimum was to interpret why did the Supreme Court nullify, reduced them into 12 points and told IEBC, can we discuss this issue?
Oluoch.
That is the only dialogue that we needed, and I can tell you, Larry, that window has closed.
Honorable Oluoch, what do you mean? The IEBC says there will be an election on 26th October, and Jubilee says they're going ahead with it. So what do you mean there will be no election?
Two reasons. Number one, there can only be an election that falls within the parameters of the Constitution and that which was directed by the Supreme Court. Those circumstances that led to the impugned elections have not changed. The same faces, the same CEO Chiloba, in fact, is more emboldened now. We have the same secretariat that is in place. So in respect of the order of the Supreme Court, hold an election in strict accordance with the Constitution, there will be no election. But more importantly, Raila Odinga has withdrawn. So what election are you going to hold?
There are seven other candidates. There are seven other candidates in the race.
There is no election.
Can I interject?
Yes, Senator.
One, Mr. Raila Odinga is not the only candidate in that election. We have other equally competent candidates who are facing Uhuru Kenyatta. That's number one. Number two, when you say there will be no elections, indeed you reveal that indeed you are anarchist. Otherwise, what method are you going to ensure we don't have elections unless you cause chaos? Of course. Number three, there is no way you can be saying that your demands were not being listened to. For instance, you are the one who demanded that we shift the elections from 17th of October, and IBC considered to your demand, it is shifted this election to 26th of October against our wish. We never complained, we agreed to it. And number two, you also demanded that Chiloba does not have any role in this election. They agreed to your demand. They formed a so-called special team. Surely, everything you demand this, they agree, you shift. You demand this, they agree, you shift. Surely, are you going to hold this country to a ransom? You think you are a super party? It's very unfair. We have so many Kenyans who have also rights. And by the way, you are right. You say we ought to have a beef against IBC. Indeed, you are right. That is why we amended the law to provide if you are an IBC person, you miss the election, we jail you for 5 years. Okay, Senator, in fact, you mentioned something about Nusumkate, which is a good place to end it, because this Nusumkate arrangement came up today. Both Raila Odinga and the Deputy President, William Ruto, talked about it. I want to play for you those sound bites in conclusion.
Aliyeleta mambo ya Nusumkate si mwingine ni William Samoei Ruto peke yake. Ati mimi ndio nilimsaidia akapata Nusumkate 2007. Sasa mimi namwambia bwana kitendawili, kwa sababu kwa kweli mimi nilimsaidia akapata hiyo Nusumkate, lakini sasa baada ya kupata Nusumkate akakuwa na tabia mbaya. Badala ya kufanya kazi na mzee Kibaki, akaenda huko akaanza kuuliza nusu mkeka, mara anauliza choo hana, mara akahangaisha mzee Kibaki mpaka hata ile kazi ya serikali ikakosekana kufanyika. Ndio nilimwambia mambo ya nusu mkate, my friend, hakuna tena katika taifa la Kenya.
So we've got to wrap up. So in conclusion, in 10 seconds each, is NASA dialoguing with the government at all?
NASA is not going to dialogue with the government. I think the window where we would have dialogued with the government has long gone. I think the Constitution is big enough and broad enough. We will look at the Constitution. We will also look around the Constitution, and eventually there will be a solution. But I can assure you that window has closed.
What do the people who say, Honorable Oluoch, that the Constitution, the Supreme Court said hold an election within 60 days, which ends 1st November? What happens then? Because NASA is saying there will be no election.
There is no
what happens after 1st November?
There is no vacuum. I always insist, let's go back to Article 1. The power that is exercised by the President, that is exercised by any senator, governor, including members of parliament, is an exercise of indirect power of sovereignty. There can never be a vacuum, but it is not a vacuum because Uhuru Kenyatta will be holding any power. It is no vacuum because the people hold the ultimate sovereignty in this republic. And we will go back to them and they will give us direction.
Are you satisfied with that response?
No, I'm not. Mr. Raila Odinga went to London. He gave a certain speech. We heard him very clearly. He was voting, was rooting for Nusumkate government, and he's the one we are saying we are not going to grant him. I'm so perturbed by the suggestion that we had, which came from Kinakafogo, that indeed they appear to be holding brief for Mr. Raila Odinga.
They said they support President Kenyatta.
Of course, it's not true. Of course, you can say one thing, but your actions and your words show the opposite, because surely it is us, by the way, who are aggrieved. We are into an election not because we want, because we are compelled by a court. But instead of those people who obtain that court and going to an election
because you stole the elections.
Fine, you come and yes, you are right. We go back, we prove who stole.
We will only go back to an election where the referee has changed the rules.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there.
Come back with why are you fearful?
Senator,
circumstances in which you have already put the referee in your pocket, you have put the rules into your pocket, it will not happen.
Gentlemen, Senator Kang'ata, Honorable Oluoch, we'll leave it there.
You are anarchist.
We'll leave it there.